Right now, somewhere in America, a 17-year-old is sitting in their bedroom, laptop open, about to make more money this month than their own parents make in 3. Not because they got lucky, not because some stock exploded overnight, because they figured out one number that changes everything, and once you understand it, you will never look at making money the same way again. That number is $10,000, not $1,000,000, not a private jet, not a Lamborghini parked outside a rented mansion for a thumbnail. $10,000, because here is the truth almost nobody tells you when you are starting from zero. The moment you make your first $10,000 from nothing, you have proven something that can never be taken away from you again. You have proven that earning money is a skill, not luck. And the second something becomes a skill, it becomes repeatable, which means if you can do it once on purpose, you can do it again and again. And this time we are going to build that skill together from absolute zero right in front of your eyes. But before I show you how, I need to warn you about something that is quietly destroying more beginners than any recession ever could. Scroll through any app right now, and you will find someone in a rented Lamborghini telling you to throw your last $300 into a coin you have never heard of, or to start day trading options with money you cannot afford to lose. These people are not teaching you a skill. They are selling you a lottery ticket with better lighting and a better camera. Day trading and chasing the next big crypto coin require huge cash reserves just to survive the swings, and for a beginner with no financial cushion, one bad week can wipe out months of saving in a single afternoon. That is not a path to $10,000. That is a path to zero dressed up to look exciting. So if that is what you were expecting from this video, I need you to unlearn it right now, because what we are about to build is the opposite of gambling. My name is David Marshall, and this is David Marshall Finance, the channel where we treat money less like magic and more like mechanics. No hype, no rented cars, nobody screaming at you to buy the dip. Just the actual framework, the one I wish somebody had handed me the first time I tried to make money on my own, instead of learning every piece of it the hard, expensive way. If that sounds like the kind of channel you want in your corner, hit subscribe right now, because today we are building something I call the skill pyramid. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly which of 4 possible paths can realistically take you from zero to your first $10,000, and which ones will quietly waste the next 2 years of your life. Let's start with the map, because almost everyone starts on the wrong path, not because they are lazy, but because nobody has ever laid all 4 of them side by side and shown the real trade-offs. So let's do that right now in order from slowest to smartest. Path 1 is in-person services. This is the fastest cash you will ever physically touch. Washing cars, walking dogs, mowing lawns, tutoring a neighbor's kid in algebra, moving furniture on a Saturday afternoon. The barrier to entry is almost nothing. You can be holding real cash in your hand by dinner time on your very first day, and that speed feels incredible when you are starting from absolute zero. But here is the catch that nobody mentions when they are hyping up the hustle. In-person services are trapped by 2 things at once: geography and time. You only have one body, you only have 24 hours in a day, and you can only serve the streets you can physically reach. There is a hard ceiling built into Path 1, and most people slam into it within a few months without ever realizing it was there the whole time. So what happens when you outgrow it? That's where Path 2 comes in, and on the surface it looks like the obvious upgrade until you realize it might actually be a trap wearing a disguise. Path 2 is local products. Instead of selling your time, you start selling things you make with your hands. Candles, jewelry, baked goods, custom apparel, whatever you can build and package. This feels like progress because you are no longer trading hours for dollars, you are selling objects that exist even while you sleep. But Path 2 comes with a hidden cost that quietly drains people before they ever reach $10,000, and that cost is capital. You have to buy materials before you sell a single item. You have to store inventory somewhere in your house or garage. You have to make every single unit yourself, which means your growth is still capped by your own 2 hands, exactly like Path 1, except now you have spent money you did not really have to spare just to get started. It is slow, it is capital intensive, and for a total beginner, it can eat your seed money before you have made a single real sale. So if local products are too slow and in-person services have a hard ceiling, what if you sold to the entire world instead of just your neighborhood? This is where it gets interesting, and this is also where a lot of beginners get seduced by something that looks flawless from the outside and is actually hiding a quiet problem underneath. Path 3 is global products, things like dropshipping and print on demand. Suddenly your customer is not just your neighborhood, it is the entire planet. You put a product online, someone in another state or another country buys it, and a supplier ships it directly to their door. No garage full of inventory, no local ceiling holding you back. On paper, this looks like the perfect answer to everything we just talked about. In reality, Path 3 has a quiet killer hiding inside it, and that killer is your margin. After ad costs, platform fees, and supplier costs, most global product sellers are working with a margin of only 20 to 30%. And here's the part that really traps beginners without them noticing. Every dollar you make has to immediately go back into restocking or running more ads just to keep the entire machine moving. I call this the cash reinvestment cycle, and if you are not careful, you can be doing 6 figures in total sales and still have almost nothing sitting in your actual bank account, because the cash never stops moving long enough to truly become yours. Let's pause for 1 second and take stock of where we actually are, because this matters. 3 paths down, and every single one of them has a ceiling or a cost or a trap hiding somewhere inside it. In-person services cap out on time and geography. Local products cap out on capital in your own 2 hands. Global products cap out on razor-thin margins and a cash reinvestment cycle that never lets the money sit still. Which means there has to be a 4th option, the one almost nobody talks about publicly, and it happens to be the exact path that gets beginners to their first $10,000 the fastest. Path 4 is online services, and once you see this clearly, you will understand why we are building the rest of this video around it. Online services means doing skilled work entirely through a screen. Video editing, copywriting, running ads for small businesses, building websites, managing social media accounts, virtual assistant work, and dozens of others just like them. Here is why Path 4 beats every single other path on this board, point for point. Your margins are not 20 to 30% like Path 3. They are 70 to 80% because you are not paying for materials, you are not paying for shipping, and you are not paying a supplier. Your reach is not limited to your zip code like Path 1, because a client sitting in Texas can hire you just as easily as someone 3 streets over. There is no inventory to buy before you even start, which means there is no cash reinvestment cycle silently draining you before your very first sale. And the payment is instant. Someone pays you, and the money is actually yours, not tied up in restocking boxes or waiting on a supplier halfway across the world. High margin, global reach, instant payment, and 0 startup cost. That is not one advantage. That is 4 advantages stacked directly on top of each other, and it is exactly why almost every real story of someone hitting their first $10,000 quickly traces back to some version of Path 4. But here is where I have to be completely honest with you, because this is the part that separates the people who actually hit $10,000 from the people who try Path 4 for a month and quietly give up. Knowing that online services is the best path does not automatically hand you the money. Thousands of people offer the exact same skill you are about to learn, and most of them stay completely invisible their entire career. So the real question is not which path to choose, you already have that answer, it is Path 4. The real question is, how do you stop being one of 1,000 identical freelancers and become the one person clients actually go looking for? And that is exactly what the skill pyramid was built to solve. Picture an actual pyramid in your mind, 4 levels stacked on top of each other. Every single level depends completely on the one underneath it. If the base is weak, it does not matter how impressive the top looks, the entire structure eventually collapses. That is the skill pyramid, and it has 4 levels, positioning at the very base, leverage stacked above that, reach stacked above that. And automation, or what I really call reliability, sitting right at the top, holding the entire structure together under pressure. Most beginners try to build straight from level 1 skill directly to money, skipping every level of this pyramid completely, which is exactly why they stay stuck offering the same service as everyone else for the same low price as everyone else. So let's build this pyramid together, 1 level at a time, starting from the ground up. Level 1 is positioning, and this is where almost every beginner gets it wrong before they have even started. Here is the mistake. Most people learn a skill and then sell that exact skill exactly the way it was taught to them. If they learn video editing, they go find small YouTubers and offer to edit their videos. If they learn copywriting, they go find small local businesses and offer to write their copy. And it sounds reasonable, except for one enormous problem hiding underneath it. Small YouTubers with 10,000 subscribers usually do not have real consistent money to pay you, so you end up competing against 1,000 other beginners for scraps. Positioning means repositioning that exact same skill towards someone who can actually afford to pay for it, and pay well for it. So instead of editing videos for a small YouTuber trying to grow an audience, you take that same editing skill and go find an entrepreneur who is already selling a high-ticket product or a high-ticket course, someone who makes real revenue from every single video that converts a viewer into a customer. You are no longer selling video editing, you are selling more sales for their business. Same hands, same software, same underlying skill, but a completely different value because you repositioned who it is for and what it actually does for them. This is where I need you to remember one sentence, because it is going to come up again and again throughout your entire career, no matter what skill you end up choosing. Businesses do not pay for effort, they pay for results. Nobody cares how many hours you spent hunched over the editing software at 2 in the morning. They care whether that video actually made them money. The moment you understand that sentence, your entire pricing conversation changes completely, which brings us straight to level 2 of the pyramid. Level 2 is leverage, and this is where the real income jump happens because leverage is about how you charge, not what you do. Most beginners price themselves by the hour. They think this will take me 3 hours to finish, so I will charge $30 an hour, and that number feels safe because it feels fair. But hourly pricing quietly punishes you for getting better at your job. The faster and more skilled you become, the less you actually earn per project because you finish everything faster than before. That is completely backwards. Leverage means pricing based on the value and the return on investment you create, not the hours sitting on your clock. This is what is called value-based pricing, and here is exactly how it works in the real world. If your edited video helps a business sell $15,000 worth of a course, charging $500 for that single video is not expensive. It is an absolute bargain because you just handed them a return of nearly 30 times what they paid you. This is the exact same sentence again, just wearing a different outfit. Businesses do not pay for effort, they pay for results. And once you start pricing around results instead of hours, your income stops being tied to your time and starts being tied to your actual value. This single shift is often the entire difference between someone stuck at a few $100s a month and someone who crosses their first $10,000 in a matter of weeks. Level 3 is reach, and this is where most beginners quietly fail without ever realizing it, because they have positioned themselves well and they have priced themselves around value, but nobody actually knows they exist yet. You can be the single most skilled person in your entire niche, and if nobody sees you, you make exactly $0. Reach means building what I call an inbound lead engine, a system where clients come find you, instead of you chasing them one cold message at a time for months on end. Let me tell you about someone named Tyler Brooks. Tyler was a college student who taught himself graphic design purely for fun. No business plan, no grand strategy, he simply liked making clean-looking graphics, and he started posting his work online because he genuinely enjoyed it, not because he expected anything to come from it. He documented his progress publicly, before and after redesigns, quick tips he was picking up along the way, small breakdowns of how he approached each project. Within a few months, his inbox quietly started filling up, not with likes, with actual messages from real business owners asking if he took on paying clients. Tyler never once sent a single cold pitch. He never once begged anyone for work. He simply made his own learning journey visible to the entire internet, and the internet brought the clients directly to his door. That small hobby eventually turned into a full-scale design agency, and the only real difference between Tyler and 1,000 equally talented designers sitting in total silence was reach. This is the part almost nobody tells beginners. You do not need to be the most talented person in your entire field to get clients. You need to be the most visible one. Document what you're learning in public out loud, show your work, even the messy early attempts. Every single post is a tiny fishing line cast out into the water, and eventually, if you stay consistent, you stop chasing clients completely because they start chasing you instead. Level 4 sits at the very top of the pyramid, and it is the level that quietly decides whether everything underneath it was actually worth building in the first place. This level is automation, but I want you to think of it by its real name, reliability. Here is a number that should genuinely scare you a little. Roughly 95% of side hustlers who fail do not fail because they lack skill. They fail because they missed deadlines, lost track of client messages, forgot to follow up, and slowly built a quiet reputation for being unreliable, without ever realizing it was happening to them in real time. Being good at what you do is one thing, but being reliable is what gets you paid again and again. A client who hires you once and gets a decent, average result might still recommend you if you were fast and dependable the entire time. But a client who hires a brilliant freelancer who goes silent for 3 days or misses a single deadline will almost never come back, no matter how genuinely talented that person was. Think of it as reliability as a premium, the invisible price tag that quietly decides who gets hired again and who gets quietly replaced. This is exactly why the top of the pyramid is about systems, not raw talent. Use a simple CRM to track every single lead, every conversation, every deadline so that nothing important ever slips silently through the cracks. This is CRM automation, and it is not about becoming a robot. It is about protecting your reputation, the single most valuable asset you own inside Path 4, so it never takes a hit because of something as avoidable as a missed message or a forgotten follow-up. Positioning gets you noticed. Leverage gets you paid well. Reach brings clients directly to your door. But reliability is what keeps them coming back, upgrading you from a one-time sale into an ongoing retainer value you can actually count on, month after month, without having to start completely over from zero every single time. Now here is the part that decides whether your first $10,000 becomes an actual turning point in your life, or just a number you quietly blew through in a few months without noticing it happened. What you do the moment that money hits your account matters just as much as how you earned it in the first place. There is a trap waiting for almost everyone the second real money finally shows up, and it is called the instant gratification trap. New shoes, a nicer phone, a night out to celebrate, and before you know it, your first $10,000 has quietly turned into your first $500. I am not telling you to never enjoy your own money. I am telling you to understand something called the amortization of wants, which simply means every want you buy today is actually borrowed against your future freedom, spread out and slowly paid for in the years you will spend working, instead of that same money working for you in the background. So here is the exact risk scale I want you to actually use, 4 tiers from safest all the way to riskiest. Tier 1 is preservation. This is a high-yield savings account, and this money is not for growing, it is strictly for protecting. This is your emergency cushion, 3 to 6 months of your expenses, sitting somewhere safe and easy to access so that one bad month never quietly turns into an entire bad year. Tier 2 is low risk, and this is where the real long-term wealth reinvestment happens for most ordinary people through index funds. Something like an S&P 500 ETF or a total market fund like VTSAX or an international equivalent like VWRL, VWO, or VFM. You are not betting on one single company, you are betting on the entire market moving upward over decades, which historically it has done again and again, through every crash and every recovery. And here is the number I want permanently stuck in your head. If you invest just $5 a day, less than the price of a fancy coffee, into an S&P 500 index fund starting young, and you simply let it sit there and compound completely untouched, that alone can grow into over $1 million by the time you turn 67 years old. $5 a day. That is genuinely the entire secret that most people never hear about until it is far too late to use it fully. Tier 3 is medium risk, individual stocks that you have actually genuinely researched yourself, not some stock tip whispered to you by a stranger online, but real research into a real company you actually understand. And Tier 4 is high risk, blue-chip cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum, the most established names that space has to offer, and even those should only ever make up a small slice of your overall portfolio, never the whole thing, and never money you genuinely cannot afford to lose completely. The order matters here more than almost anything else in this entire video. Preservation first, low risk second, medium risk third, and high risk very last, and only ever with money you have already fully protected. Your first $10,000 is not just a paycheck sitting in your account, it is proof, and what you choose to do with that proof determines whether you get a second $10,000 next, or whether you find yourself starting completely over from zero again next year. So let's bring this all the way back to exactly where we started. Your first real goal was never $1 million. It was $10,000 because that specific number proves something priceless that no one can ever quietly take away from you again, that earning money is a skill, not luck. You now know all 4 paths: in-person services, local products, global products, and online services, the one with the highest margin, the widest possible reach, and the fastest realistic path to that first $10,000. You know the skill pyramid from top to bottom. Position yourself toward people who can actually afford to pay you, charge based on value instead of hours. Build reach so that clients come find you instead of you chasing them for months. And protect every single bit of it with reliability. Because remember, businesses do not pay for effort, they pay for results, and being good gets you hired exactly once, but being reliable is what gets you hired again and again. And now you also know exactly what to do with that money the moment it finally arrives. Protect it first, then let it quietly compound in the background while you keep building the next $10,000 on top of it. This is exactly the kind of thing we break down every single week here on David Marshall Finance. Real frameworks, zero hype. No rented Lamborghinis, just the actual mechanics of building real money starting from absolute zero. If this video helped you see your first $10,000 differently, hit subscribe right now, because next time we are going even deeper into exactly how to land your very first paying client using everything you just learned today. I will see you in the next one.